When we think of the word nuclear, many of us picture atomic bombs. But did you know that the same science behind those weapons of mass destruction is what lights up our homes and powers up our devices? Or did you know that 10% of the world's energy comes from nuclear power? Nuclear power can be a reliable and efficient source of energy, but it also comes with its own disadvantages. And as someone who has not only given many presentations on the different types of energy sources, I've also been intrigued by the topic since childhood. And after conducting extensive research using several sources, today I will share some of the knowledge that I've learned specifically about nuclear energy. First, I will discuss how nuclear energy is created. Then, I will discuss some of its advantages. Finally, I will discuss some of the disadvantages that come along with nuclear energy. To begin, we will try to get a better understanding of how energy is created through a process known as nuclear fission, as well as who and when it was created. In the 2022 article, What is Nuclear Energy? The Science of Nuclear Power, Andrea Galindo explains that nuclear energy is created through a process known as nuclear fission. As Galindo explains, nuclear fission is a reaction where the nucleus of an atom splits into two or more smaller nuclei while releasing energy. The energy that is produced as a result of nuclear fission comes in the form of heat. This heat is then used to power turbines using steam inside of a nuclear power plant. The most common fuel used to produce nuclear energy is uranium. And according to the Office of Nuclear Energy, in their 2021 article, Fission and Fusion, What is the Difference? Uranium is most commonly used because it is easy to control and initiate. Nuclear fission was discovered in December of 1938 by German physicists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann. Since their discovery of nuclear fission, hundreds of nuclear power plants have been created, and according to Catherine Clifford, 2023, a writer for the CNBC, there are currently 93 nuclear reactors operating in the United States today. Now that we know the basic principles of nuclear energy, I'd like to discuss some of its advantages. Nuclear power, when looked at in comparison to other forms of energy, can be vastly more efficient. For example, in his academic journal, Sustainable Nuclear Energy Dilemma, by Professor Naeem Afghan, writes, fission power uses little land and requires modest construction inputs per unit of energy produced, lower than the construction inputs for wind and solar energy by factors of 10 and 100. The efficiency of nuclear energy is one of the main reasons why it is still commonly used today. Afghan later discusses how nuclear power can generate energy with minimal greenhouse gas emissions and how it can be a better alternative to fossil fuels. Afghan continues by discussing resource availability of nuclear power. Uranium, being the main source of fuel, is abundant in most parts of the world. Lastly, another benefit to nuclear energy is that it can be reliable in all types of weather. Unlike solar and wind power, nuclear power plants can continue to produce energy regardless of the weather. Now that we've discussed some of the pros, let's discuss some of the cons of nuclear power. One of the cons of nuclear power is that it is not a renewable source of energy. This means that eventually the resources used to generate power, like uranium, will eventually run out. Secondly, nuclear power produces waste that can be damaging to the environment for long periods of time. Disposing and managing the waste can be challenging. And according to journalist Martina Aghini, over 250,000 tons of nuclear waste have been stored across the world, 2023. Thirdly, nuclear energy is one of the most expensive forms of energy to produce. Aghini, 2023, explains that the construction of a power plant can cost investors billions of dollars, and it can take up to a decade to build. This makes it hard for nuclear power to become a main source of energy. Lastly, nuclear accidents, although very rare and uncommon, can still occur. In the event of an accident, depending on the severity, can render the city or cities nearby completely uninhabitable. In conclusion, today I've discussed the basic principles of how energy is created through nuclear fission and the advantages of nuclear power along with its disadvantages. While nuclear power holds the potential to provide reliable and efficient energy, it is not without its own drawbacks. So whether or not we agree with the use of nuclear power, we cannot disregard the efficiency and the impact on the environment when looked at in contrast to other forms of non-renewable energy that the world currently still uses. Thank you.